Hey everybody, it's Wiz and TMD here, going yet for another PGA golf preview. We have been killing it on the golf tournaments this year, nearly profitable in what it feels like 6 of 7 tournaments this year. TMD, how you doing, my guy?
Doing pretty good, Wiz. A lot of people withdrew for this weekend. We are not. We are full field all the time.
I can't withdraw for 1 week for PGA like Scotty Scheffler can, so
Yeah.
it'll be you and me getting ready for the Cognizant tournament. Before we go into that, I really wanted to mention Genesis really quick. While I did profit like barely, I think I profited just like zero point 0.3 or zero point 0.4 units. You did lose 0.95, but that was mainly because of your pre-tournament and your round one stuff. As we move in
Yeah.
to the new season of PGA, we start going out to the East Coast. We're saying goodbye to Hawaii and all that. What did you learn from the first 2 months of PGA betting?
I think the biggest thing to learn is kind of what people's current form is like. When you're starting at the Sony, you're looking at, well, did they play in November and October? But some of the better golfers, you don't always get to have that. In other cases, there are guys that just kind of lose their footing to start. And it's interesting to stack up and gauge how everyone is. I mean, we've seen people jump up in the world golf rankings that, I just wouldn't have predicted would be there, and you kind of get to see some new breakout. I don't want to say breakout in some cases, but I don't think anyone really would have predicted that Chris Gotterup would have won two so far. That Justin Rose would have set a bunch of tournament records and have a W this year. But that's just kind of how things shake out, and I think getting more data under our belt for the year, that's always a good thing.
Well, as we move on to the next tournament, the Cognizant 2026 tournament, tell me about why a lot of golfers have withdrawn from this tournament and your impressions on the course.
Well, I have opinions on both. I mean, there a couple people have already came out and kind of talked about why it is the way that it is with people dropping out. It's just tough in the schedule. You have a couple signatures and then you have this kind of one break, or they're treating it as a break because you have two signatures after, and it's just a tough place to have this course because it's so nice. It used to be a place where a lot of stars would come, and now since it got a little bit easier and it's sandwiched in between these big events where you kind of have to play, it does kind of become the perfect spot to take a week off. And so, it is what it is. I mean, everyone has their own opinion on the scheduling, but it's kind of where the Cognizant falls. PGA National is not really going to be a big premier event anymore with the scheduling being like this. Now the course has also changed a little bit. My impression on the course is that it's going to play easy, and that wasn't always the case. Um, I think we saw 2 years ago uh, 17 under win. I think that was Austin Eckroat, and then last year with Highsmith at 19 under, and so that's a good sign because I feel like we do better in easy courses.
I would say so far, yes, because we're really good at picking out those accurate drivers who have good ball striking and have really good at putting. But the courses that require you to go 500 yards on average sometimes on a par four need woods to go 250 on a second shot and need really good sand shots, recoveries. Those are the courses we've really struggled at, in my opinion. Like, this reminds me a lot of the Sony Open, which we did really well in one of our first tournaments of the year.
Yeah, this might even play a little bit easier than the Sony, which is nice. It's uh it's Bermuda greens again, so that is similar to the Sony, but it's a par 71, I think, as opposed to 70 there. There was some correlation that I was looking at between the Sony and here, just because there's a bit of a correlation with golfers who already had played the Sony and got reps on Bermuda, now coming to the Florida greens that are a little bit different. And a lot of the guys that fared pretty well over there in the Sony and got those reps ended up doing pretty good down at PGA National.
Well, I want to mention that really quickly before we move on to golfers that we're targeting. How should people at this point in the year, we're starting to get a sample size for a lot of golfers. Some guys have done 5 tournaments so far. How can we use previous golf tournaments to our advantage going forward? And how much do similar courses matter?
Similar courses definitely matter. I think, and we can use data from the year before, but it'll especially be nice to blend their current form in with those similar courses. I think that gives us a bit of a better sense of where they stand because things just they differ year to year. Golfers are not always the same player. So I think seeing them and how they are doing this year mixed with those similar courses will help once we're down into July and August.
Perfect. All right, I want to start moving into golfers that we kind of like because, like you mentioned, there's a lot of withdrawals. So it's going to be a lot of names that we really haven't talked much about. We've targeted Nikolai in one tournament. I know you kind of like him. Ryan Gerard is the top salary dog currently on DK if you just do it that way. Um, but there's somebody that ranks pretty high and is high on the DK rankings that you really, really like. And it's somebody that we have not mentioned really at all this year. Talk to me and tell me about Shane Lowry.
Shane Lowry is my bad drug addiction that I had to shake. I have a pretty negative history betting on him because he's my favorite golfer, and I will always, in my heart, believe in him. But there are certain times where you can pick out Shane and really ride him, and he'll win you bets. But I think what I've learned over time is that I can't get too committed to him. But this is a week where I might have to stick to him for a while. He can be a little bit inconsistent at times, but this course rewards ball strikers, especially guys who can win off the tee. And I mean, as always, get on greens. Good. A lot of these courses are second shot courses, and he's just good at that. I mean, he throws darts. Not the best putter in the world, but as you can see on the screen right now, like he's gained strokes putting both times this year. So I don't know. Maybe it's a brand new year where we're really dominant with the flat stick.
I was muted, and I apologize for all the audio listeners. I apologize. I
I was gonna say I thought I was going
no, no,
crazy.
no, no, no. I apologize about that. We mentioned at the top that Bermuda greens matter a lot for putting, and he had was negative strokes in nearly every type of green surface except Bermuda. That matters. That matters way more than people realize.
I've put that in into a lot of my models. I think I made probably five. I change my mind all the time on what the percentages should be and what should be added. But I've been hard on Bermuda greens this week. I think that this will be a course where you don't have to be too overly dependent on making sure a guy can putt well. Just because I think there are other challenges that can get in the way of good putters. So like overvaluing it might prove fatal for a guy that can't do the other things. But in Shane's case, like pretty solid off the tee, gain strokes consistently, always gain strokes on approach. You're gonna see that, and just for him to have that little Bermuda boost, it's nice because it's not easy to putt on Bermuda.
No. Another couple people you liked. You did like Ryan a lot. Do you want to just mention why he is currently the favorite to win this?
Yeah, his form this year has been great. He came out the gate firing. So he's playing really good golf. I think the course fits him, and especially how he's been playing. Like we said, it's a good approach player, good ball striker. It's gonna help. I'm not so sure if he's gonna be able to finish holes well, but he has thus far. So I am inclined to believe that the birdies will keep coming. He's just a good scorer, shown it this year. Young kid, firing, love it.
You mentioned something, and we'll talk about this more when we talk about props that we are considering for this tournament. You and me have gotten very funneled in to the round bets specifically. You mentioned something though that he doesn't finish holes well. Is that something where you're like interested in looking into a fairways bet possibly for him? Or is that you want to see a couple rounds before you start taking those types of props?
You're you're close on this one. I think the correlation lies with green and regs. With the fairways, I'm thinking a lot of kind of the mixture of what holes you're going to see, and then mixed with their accuracy. You can kind of plan out what they're going to do and if they can actually do it. With greens and regulation, you're looking more for pure strikers who are accurate. They're gonna they're gonna go for the green sometimes. Um, that matters too because if you're laying up right before, you're not even gonna have a chance. But there's some guys that go for it a little bit more than usual, and there's also a lot of data on who gets it when they're going for it. So that's something that if you're listening to this and you're not in the WizCord, that's something that I recently put out just today. Um, kind of a quick showing of who who gets it on the green the most, and then if they go for it, and then when they go for it from a long distance, if they get it. And I think those numbers matter when you're trying to look at green and reg stats. Maybe for a guy like you mentioned, like that just can't finish holes.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Okay. As we move forward, just a couple other guys we wanted to mention. Obviously, we talked about Shane and Ryan already. I love to see Zalatoris do well, but I think his consistency has been very up and down. Might be somebody we might target mid rounds if he does have it. But we targeted Nikolai a couple tournaments ago. He's getting up to the top 50 in the PGA rankings. Why is this somebody that is in your top five right now?
I just couldn't get him and Thorbjornsen. I couldn't get out of my head just because they're so good off the tee, and I don't love his accuracy. But if he can get that together, then I think he's really going to be able to separate himself. I did put out that top 30 finish today, and I love where his form's at. I think he's been a much more complete golfer than he was last year. We saw him gain strokes on putting. That's big. I mean, it's so volatile that there's no way to predict if that can keep going. But with his approach numbers and with his off the tee numbers, I like for him to be in some pretty advantageous spots. It's crucial to nail par fives at this tournament, and he's going to be at the front of that. So to know that you're kind of not achieving that bare minimum, but getting what's really needed to go low, that makes me feel comfortable taking a guy like Nikolai, and similarly to him, like I mentioned, Michael Thorbjornsen
Well, let's talk about him really
is
quick
is another one,
because
and his brother. His brother
on
too.
your list of you did a backlist of your top 10 favorite players to back. These aren't your top 10 rankings. These are people that you 100% want to be targeting based on their value. Why is Thorbjornsen a major value pre-tournament right now?
I think Thor has the archetype to do it, and I think he's a much more well-rounded golfer than a lot of his younger counterparts, like a David Ford. I think he's a little bit more sharp. The putting worries me, but there's just maybe there's not enough, and he's had some blow up rounds where he kind of just loses it. But other than that, like if you remove those blow up rounds and you swap it with an even, the kid is going kind of crazy right now. Like where he'd end up finishing probably um, would be even better than how he's already done. I like that he's getting reps in the TGL. He's around Rory a lot, and Keegan, and so I don't know. I have a lot of belief in him for someone who doesn't have this decorated chart of events where we can look back and be like, oh. He's done top 20 three straight times at this tournament. We're not going to get that sort of course history with him. Not even like it necessarily matters too much this week, but he's just a really, really great archetype for this tournament. And hopefully he can finish holes. Not sure. We're gonna have to find that out, but that's why he's number one on the back list.
There are three things that I really like looking at his advanced data. The first thing is that, yeah, is a struggles at putting, but it's really on POA that he really is a bad putter. The second thing is that he excels when the field isn't great. When it's a good field, he gets in his head and he struggles, losing about 1.3 strokes per round. And the thing that I love most is that he starts off great, but then he falls apart in the third or the fourth rounds. So this is somebody that I love to make a cut or back their strokes rounds 1 and 2 and get the good value in. So I agree with you 100% on that. Before we move on to just a couple guys you're fading, or at least looking to fade or avoid, any shout outs to any other golfers you wanted to mention before we get into that?
In terms of the backlist, I mean, let's see. Well, if I go off maybe my own bets, I would probably say I did take two kind of long shots. Lee Hodges and Andrew Putnam. I know Putnam's a bit more popular this week, but I haven't seen a lot of Lee Hodges. And with the way that he's done this year and at this tournament previously, his profile is pretty good. You know, drives it accurately, which you need to stay out of the water. Too many water holes here, and approach number is pretty good. So I don't know. It's just I'm surprised that he's 100 to 1. I thought he'd be probably closer to 80. Um, and so took a flyer on him, hoping it pans out.
Well, speaking of your fade list, there is somebody that I was really hoping could do well in this tournament. I probably won't back him now. Why don't you like Zalatoris? Why do you hate Zalatoris, TMD? Why do you hate him?
Do I hate Will Zalatoris?
You do it this week.
I mean, I'd say I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant just because I think he's a guy that if there was anyone on that fade list that would burn me, I think it's probably Willie Z and then maybe Houghton. But I'm just not so sure I'm ready to take him with how consistent he's been. Post surgery, I mean, he looked fine at the Amex, but I don't know how much how much weight I want to put for watching a guy at the Amex. It's kind of just like pitch and putt, but him and Brooks headlined the list. I can't trust Brooks because of the putter, and I can't trust Willie Z for similar reasons, but just also he hasn't shown me enough to make me want to take him after the injury.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I liked what I saw in round 4 of the Amex, and I'm like, all right, it's his time. We've seen him do it now. But then in the Farmers, he completely fell apart in the second round. And this will be his first round since the Farmers. And man, dude, his peak was great. His peak was top 10, next level, like the next guy to be in that upper tier, you know? And it's just unfortunate because he's going to be entering 30 soon and he's not going to be young anymore.
I
Really.
think there's a future for Zal. I think he'll get back to it. He just needs to get a grip this year, and then he'll be fine. I think Zal's a great golfer. I just it's too early, and I'm sure come August, I'm betting on him, but probably not now.
I gotcha. All right. Let's move on to our actual bets that we love. We'll mention your official bets a little bit later. I kind of want to just start with some fun stuff beforehand and some stuff to at least mention. Um, we have struggled with cut parlays. Do you have any interest on doing cut parlays in a weak field like this?
Negative. This might be one of the worst weeks to cut parlays.
Why is that?
There's just less ground to stand on. Like you don't have really much of any certainty. I think that the top six guys that you're looking at, maybe top eight, I feel confident about those guys making the cut, but not confident enough to where I'll take them and maybe a guy below her because all the guys below them. I mean, sure, I do believe in I don't know Chris Kirk. Like Mackenzie Hughes. I do kind of value, but it's like I'm not going to bet on them to make the cut because I'm just not sure.
Gotcha. All right. Well, then let's get rid of to make a cut. Let's just talk about top 40 and top 30 and stuff. Are there any values? You can talk about your official plays if you want now. Are there any values that you see for top 40 and top 30?
Yeah, I mean, I took Shane and Gerard just to get behind those two top guys that everyone's just kind of like, well, they're the headliners, and in my head, I'm like, how often do you get the two best guys in the tournament for like a top 40 parlay? Usually, it doesn't work out with the units, or sometimes it's just not even offered with those players. So I'm like, you know what? Like, you get the course horse with Lowry, and then you get the guy probably playing the best, I'd say, in Gerard. He didn't play great the last time out, but like that had a lot to do with the greens. So if he figures that out, they're good for this tournament. And I'm like, top 40, it's not easy, it's not hard.
I kind of like that value because what's the projection for cuts? Is it going to be 65, 70 in this tournament?
Yeah, I believe something like that. Yep.
Okay. And it's par 71 or 72, remind me.
It's a par 71.
That's what I thought. Okay. As we move on to round scores, then I saw on your list that you played, you're targeting 69 and a half because that all you need for 69 and a half is to be 2 under. Is there somebody that's like, well, that's just mispriced that you see at maybe like plus value, minus 126? I know, so you already played somebody for 1.25 units at plus 100 that you couldn't believe was that price.
It's so funny because I go and I load up the slip and I'm looking at the odds and stuff like that. And when you're building a card and you don't put the bets in one by one, you kind of let them like sit and you put them all together. Odds will change. I had Michael Thorbjornsen change from 68 and a half, under 68 and a half at plus, I think it was plus 114. I had that change to 69 and a half plus 100. And I freaked out and I like just immediately was like, I need it. I need it now. This can't change for one more second. I need this. And it ended up sticking for a while. So that was good. But I can't see your screen too well. What is it at now?
It's at 68 and a half for plus 114. Would you recommend that for like half a unit, or would you not play the bump?
I would say, what does it look like on FanDuel?
That's a great question. Let me pull it up.
Where my mind goes. Because DK, it'll give you the better odds on outrights. FanDuel will sneaky never catch up when it comes to round props. Like they'll update it a ton, but I find myself finding better lines there.
Well, you would be right. It's 69 and a half. Actually, this is a really good bump question because we talk about bumps all the time in NBA, and like at a certain point, you don't take the bump. You rather would take the other line. I have 69 and a half under at minus 138. Would you take 69 and a half minus 138, or would you take 68 and a half for plus 114?
That is such a good question. I would I would take the 69 and a half. I feel like the moment I won't touch it is if it goes from, let's say in this example, instead of minus 138, it was minus 152. I'm laying off because I don't want to put a unit and a half. But I think when you look at a minus 138, I think if you know you were, if I know that I knew I was going to commit 1.25 to most, if not all my bets on round one.
I
I
got
would
you.
have probably taken the minus 138, just done 1.25 units and just been like, that's it. But yeah,
Anybody else you want to mention for round scores? I know you got a few other bets that you like so far.
I, I do. I'm back in Nikolai and Shane. We've already talked about them, so that'll make sense that we believe them. So we're taking them round one. There's obviously the round one statistics that go into that. I like Daniel Berger this week. He was on the backlist. He's the guy that I want to take right out the gate. I saw on FanDuel minus 125 for 69 and a half, and I was like, what? That's a great number. And I'm not going to avoid that and see Daniel Berger like 4 under after 8 holes and be like, ah, because I always avoid doing that. Danny B hasn't let me down too often, and I like that he's just a scorer. I think he's got the profile for it. A little bit of a weird week last week, but I smell a turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, you also put down Shane Lowry as well, currently plus value on FanDuel, then minus 102 on DK for 68 and a half strokes. That's going to require 3 under for somebody that you project to be the best golfer tomorrow. I think that's a fair line for him. I mean, this is basically the Scotty of this tournament, the guy that's going to get way better lines than everybody else. So I see that as a pretty decent value for him.
We should keep doing that. We should keep mentioning Scotty Scheffler and Shane Lowry in the same sentence. I like that.
Is there a reason why you aren't taking any overs in round one?
I mean, if you look back to how the last 2 years have played when this course has been at its easiest, you just you don't see a lot of guys sucking. I think last year, if I'm correct, I think 70 people went 2 under or better. That's just too much. And it's not like they're putting out lines of the worst golfers, putting out the best. Like, and I'm not really down to fade a Billy Ho or, not even Aaron Rye. Like, Aaron Rye actually will probably do good on this course. But like, I'm not ready to fade them and have my only basis round one for a fade be like, oh, I didn't really putt well. It's like, it's volatile, can go up and down. Like, I'm not sure. So instead, I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna take the guys that ball out, the scorers, the guys that I know are gonna take advantage of some of these holes and just see how they do.
All right. I got two more questions for you then. I know you're not a big fairways guy, so let's go to greens and regulation. What is somebody that you would take their over greens at 12 and a half, but maybe wouldn't take their strokes at like under 69 or under 68 and a half?
That's a really good question. I think someone like Kensei Hirata, I wouldn't I might not if we're talking greens and reg, but
I can't find his line,
you hear me?
unfortunately. Yeah, sorry.
All right. Yeah, I think it's gonna be something to use previous rounds on. I like to do it live. I like to do it on a round three or round four if I do it. Out the gate, it can be a little tough, but I think when judging green and reg for round one, I think you kind of just stay simple and you go for the best strikers. So it's going to be interesting to see like if 11, 12, or 13 is the most common. But right now, I'd say if you're going to take an over, I would just back the better guys. Thorbjorn Olesen is a guy that I think about. Johnny Kiefer, I think it might take some time for them to adapt to his lines. Haotong up there as well. If you can get them at 12 and a half, I don't think that that's crazy.
All right. I'm going to add a bonus question because I'm surprised by these lines. We have mentioned five guys a little bit often. Lowry, we didn't really talk about Keith Mitchell, but Keith Mitchell was high in your rankings as well, correct?
Dog.
Yep.
He's going to be good.
Nikolai, Gerard, and Thorbelson. Out of those five guys, who are you most confident in going under 2.5 bogeys?
Such a good question. I guess I would. I mean, in my head, I'm thinking people who can keep it out of the water, because that's an easy bogue. Um, so I'd probably Thorbjornsen. He might get a little erratic. I'm not sure. I'd probably say
Are you going to
Shane.
put 12
Probably
units on this dude in this tournament? I
Shane.
mean,
I might but Shane, I think Shane is the guy that
Shane's the guy. Okay,
he's shown that he is probably bogeyed less than a lot of guys in this
that's
field.
fair. And then my last question for you is from a value perspective and just for fun, give me five players that I should put zero point 0.1 units on to win the tournament.
Andrew Putnam.
we're going really high on the first one. I love it. I love it. Why Putnam? Really quick.
Just super underrated profile, playing well, good on Bermuda, just does everything right, and I'm not sure why his line is like that. He's obviously not a front runner, but as
But I
as
mean,
far as a guy with
for
price the
plus
way that he is,
16,000 odds, I'm okay with it.
yeah, like I'm not gonna place any serious money on that, but if I could put a point one, yeah, I'll throw it at him.
All right, you got 60 seconds. Give me four more names.
Okay, we'll go with Lee Hodges, obviously, because that's my guy.
Okay.
I'm gonna say, let's go Sam Ryder.
All right. Why Sam Ryder? Really quick.
Sleeper fits. I think ball striking, it's there. I think that he's gonna exceed some expectations this week.
All right, give me two more.
Also go Billy Horschel. Can drive it, knows the course. I think that's gonna help him.
And then
Then
if you have one more, I mean, if you want, I can just click it for you.
you know what? Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Right there.
that's your guy. 10, 15 seconds. Any final thoughts that you have for this tournament that you wanted to mention?
I think that we're either gonna make a lot or lose a lot, but I'm down for that ride.
It's gonna be a great ride. Appreciate everybody watching for the whole stream. Let us know who your favorite golfer is for this tournament and who you're backing. We all know who TMD is backing. I'll be posting plays tonight. Keep an eye out for that. Let's have a great tournament. and I'll catch y'all later. See you guys.